What's going on, everyone? Welcome back today. I finally had a chance to use my Shadow Kanto Marowak. I just got this thing last week. This Pokemon is insane. I know a lot of people have used it to great success, but I finally have one of my own thanks to this last Rocket event, so I'm very excited to showcase it today. If you want to see my battles live, I stream daily at twitch.tv/ItsAXN, where you can see live insights on my gameplay and see my teams early. I'd love to see you there. The link to that is down in the description. But without further ado, let's get into the battles and see what Shadow Kantonia Marowak can do. Alright, game number one. We're going to see our Marowak in the lead up against a Shadow Annihilate. Fantastic lead for us because our backline has almost no play into this. Shadow Drapion could potentially do a lot of work with a crunch, but when shields are up, Shadow Annihilate against our backline is absolutely terrible. We're going to do as much damage as we can with our Mud Slap and potentially go for these Bone Clips here in just a second. Rage Fist will ramp up their attack stat, which is going to get scary. I need to take this thing out as quickly as possible. Bone Club number one is ready. We outpace the Annihilate to the next charge move, so if they want to shield once, they're going to have to shield twice if they want to take out our Marowak with this Annihilate. In comes the second charge move. Bone Club will knock out from this range if they opt to let it go, but they double shield, and they're going to throw a charge move to knock out our Marowak at the last second. So they did get switch advantage, but we are able to neutralize one of the scariest Pokemon that our team can face. With that said, how do I farm this down? Poison Stings do nothing, and our Dugong takes super effective damage from counter. I'm going to opt to come in with our Dugong here, go for the 2 Ice Shards. We take almost a third of our health from 3 counters, which is absolutely insane. In comes a Shadow Barrel Pokemon I don't want to have our Dugong switch locked into, and I'm going to have to chill up this attack right now. I know because this is the Shadow Barrel that our Poison Stings plus a Crunch is going to come very close to knocking them out. Our opponent realizes that and swaps out to their final pick. Yet another thing that is a very strong matchup into our Dugong. Our Shadow Drapion is going to have to put in a lot of work right now. Crunch does not get a debuff, unfortunately, which means that I'm going to have to go for the double Aqua Tail after the fact to try to take this Pokemon out. Poison Sting does almost no damage to this Steel-type Pokemon. We land the first Aqua Tail, the second one on CMP with the Earthquake. This should knock out, and because we are able to keep our Drapion alive, there's a chance we could still win this game. Shadow Barrel is still alive, though. This could be very tricky. I'm not going to be able to get to the Crunch. I tried to catch the move. We are able to, and now it's going to come down to what they throw here. If this is a Surf, which we just caught, then that is fantastic. We might be able to reach an Icy Wind and try our best to reach a second charge move. I don't think a Drill Run would be quite enough to knock them out from this range. I think I need 2 charges, but maybe a Drill Run could have been enough, but by debuffing them here, I know for a fact they have to throw another attack against us, and we banked that Shadow Aqua Tail with our Drapion. All I have to do at this point is go and make sure I throw that charge move before they can get to another Surf, and we should have this game. Despite Dugong having almost no play, we are able to overcome it thanks to Shadow Drapion and Shadow Kanto Marowak. GG's to them, very spicy team comp, just barely able to overcome it. Next game here, Shadow Marowak up against a Gastrodon in the lead. Fantastic lead once again. Shadow Drapion doesn't want to see this, so I'm going to try to win this matchup as hard as I can. I know they have a very interesting call to make. They can go for Body Slams or Earth Powers. Earth Power would do massive damage. Body Slam would do, honestly, not that much, but it would chip us down quite a bit. And Gastrodon does have a bit more attack than Marowak, which means they will always win CMP. So if they go straight Body Slam, they will always be able to win CMP in that matchup. Earth Power does end up getting shielded, though. Fantastic stuff here. I can reach another Bone Club, try to knock out this Gastrodon. And once this is out of the way, I'm going to see what they come in with. Maybe I want to save my Marowak. Maybe I want to just let it go down, depending on what they come in with. Well, they come in with a Tentacruel of all things. I guess I just stay in here, go for yet another Bone Club. At this point, Bone Club plus these Mud Slaps are going to do so much damage to this Tentacruel that it's not going to be a big threat for the backline. And once again, I have to wonder what's in the back. Why would they bring this in? Maybe it's another water and poison type Pokemon. Maybe it's like a Toxapex. Maybe it's their own Drapion. I guess it could be. If that's the case, then our own Shadow Drapion is going to be in a very good position. Our opponent trying to catch a move, but I mean, it's a Toxapex in the back, so we have a lot of play here. All we have to do at this point is land 3 crunches against this Pokemon, draw that final shield, and then our Dugong in the back should be able to close out this game. We know that normally Tentacruel is going to run Acid Spray and Great League. Acid Spray and Scald are the likely charges on that Pokemon, so our Dugong is going to not take any damage from those charge attacks. All I need to do is whittle down this Pokemon on our screen right now. Toxapex is so bulky, but we can survive yet another charge move here. Brian doing almost nothing to us, and now we can reach either double Aqua Tail or potentially even double Crunch before we're able to get knocked out by these poison jabs. In comes the first Crunch here. Opponent would have to shield this if they don't want to get knocked out, but they opt to let it go. They're baking everything right now on their very low HP Tentacruel, but this Crunch is going to draw the shield, and then our Dugong in the backline can absorb all of the damage, go for a charge move of its own, and win us this game. Our opponent is still playing this one out, though. Is it a Sludge Wave? Maybe they have it here. They have a bit of energy on this Tentacruel, but no, an Acid Spray does come through, and now all I have to do, once again, just reach a charge move here. They are throwing another charge attack, but unless they're running Acid Spray and potentially Sludge Wave, there's nothing they can do. Scald does nothing even after that debuff, and we reach an Icy Wind against this Tentacruel. Might as well throw it at this point. I might as well go for the BM against this very crazy team. I don't know why they're running double Water Poison. I guess it's Go Battle Week, right? Might as well try to spice it up while you can, but our Marowak put in so much work against that lineup. All right, this time it's going to be the non-Shadow Annihilate in the lead, a fantastic lead matchup because I don't want this anywhere near a backline, and this time they're the non-Shadow, which means they're going to do a lot less faster pressure here, and I'm not quite as worried. I'm going to no shield actually because I know I can reach 2 bone clubs against this thing and likely get both shields for nothing at this point. Potentially getting that 2 shield advantage for a Shadow Drapion on the backline could be fantastic. Your shield does come through, our opponent is going to have to shield the second one if they don't want to get knocked out by this charge. I'm expecting it at this point, though. Our opponent does opt to shield that up, and they counter us all the way down. In comes our Shadow Drapion. I know at this point the best way to take this out is with an Aqua Tail. Our opponent could catch if they want to, but I don't know if they will. They're very boosted on this Annihilate right now, but they could save it if they think their Annihilate has more play in the backline. I overfarm by a little bit, but they catch right when I throw the Aqua Tail here, and that is a fantastic catch because that was on a Dugong. This is going to do almost nothing to them, and because I don't have a great answer, I have to just stay in, go for my crunches here after the fact, and try to whittle this down as much as I can. I know Annihilate has a little bit of HP and a little bit of energy on it as well, so if our Dugong ever comes in this game, I'm going to have to always have some energy on it myself. I end up catching a move. Hopefully it's going to be an Icy Wind. It's going to do very little damage, but it will switch lock us in with a debuff, which is a little bit unfortunate. I do know, though, at this point that a Drill Run will still be enough to knock out the Annihilate, and they are very close to Drill Run range on this Dugong. I don't know what the final Pokemon is, but I did save my Shadow Drapion and a little bit of energy and quite a bit of health on my Dugong still as well. I have a shield, and we're going to throw the Drill Run right now, hopefully knocking them out, but even if we don't, we have a lot of energy here across the board. It does barely KO them. In comes the Annihilate. We're going to throw instantly. This Drill Run should knock them out. If it doesn't, then I will take a counter or two, but we can still Ice Shard down. The Annihilate does go down into the final Pokemon, going to be revealed as a Bastiodon. That is not what I wanted to see at all. I am debuffed here. I'm going to store this Drill Run and try our best to reach 2 Aqua Tails. If I can get 2 Aqua Tails off after clearing that debuff, there is a good chance a Drill Run could knock them out. Bastiodon is very weak to ground-type damage. 1 Aqua Tail comes through, in comes a charge attack from this Bastiodon. I have to shield it up if I want any chance here. I need to reach that next Aqua Tail. There's no way we reach 2 Drill Runs with our other Pokemon. I'm going to go for the Crunch, actually, because at this point, if I can get a defense drop, I can guarantee that I will knock them out with the Drill Run. We don't get the defense drop. It does 1 less damage to throw the Crunch than the Aqua Tail, so hopefully that's not going to end up mattering. In comes the Drill Run. How much damage is this going to do? Does Bastiodon survive this, or can Dugong take him out? It is so close. We are able to just barely Ice Shard down before they can reach another Stone Edge. GG's to them. That was a very close endgame. Next matchup here, a terrible lead for us. I'm going to have to save off our Shadow Drapion. Try our best to flip this matchup because I don't want this anywhere near our Shadow Marowak. They're staying in for just a second. I get to throw a Crunch actually before they end up swapping out, which means either we're going to get a shield or a lot of chip damage against this Dugong. Crunch is going to end up getting a shield and a debuff here. I wouldn't be surprised if our opponent goes for an Icy Wind and then just swaps out to another Pokemon here to counteract our Drapion. Icy Wind does come through, and our opponent does swap out, but to a Charjabug. This Pokemon is a pick I don't want to see anywhere near a Dugong, so very happy to bait this out, but I'm kind of interested in what their final Pokemon is going to be. Maybe they are very weak to Mud Slap in the backline. If that is the case, then I want to save some of my Shadow Marowak so I can potentially use it not only against this Dugong, but also against whatever their final Pokemon is going to be. In comes their first X-Scissor. I know at this point they only get to 2, but X-Scissor, despite not being super effective or anything, does do quite a bit of damage to our Marowak. I think at this point I will be forced to shield 1 move just so I have some health across the board. I don't want to completely rely on my Dugong against everything this game, so we do shield farm all the way down, have a lot of energy. I'm going to throw the Rock Slide, but our opponent actually makes a very heads-up play. They come in with their Azumarill rather than their Dugong, so I throw a Rock Slide into the wrong matchup, and because of that, we are in a very awkward spot. I'm going to overfarm, though. I know that this isn't going to instantly farm us down. I want to bank as much energy as possible. Maybe even catch an Ice Beam. Unfortunately, no catch is going to happen here, but we are able to have a lot of energy stored on our Marowak. We did a lot of fast food pressure, and in comes the Dugong once again. This is going to be a very close finish at this point. Icy Wind is going to be thrown first, just because I want to make it so I can survive their charge moves just a little bit more. Icy Wind is also going to make it so their fast moves do less damage to us. This could very much help us out, especially if they go straight Drill Run rather than debuffing us as well. In comes a Drill Run. That does almost nothing to us, and at this point, they're in range where 2 Drill Runs knock them out. They probably need another 3 to knock out our Dugong because of that debuff. In comes Drill Run once again. It looks like we might have just won CMP here, which is very good to know. Drill Run going to likely land against this Pokemon. Yeah, they're going to just save that shield for my potential Rock Slide or Bone Clubs in the backline right now. And once again, another Drill Run's going to come through. It does quite a bit of damage to us, but we are still outside of range where the next one will knock us out. I have a lot of energy here, but I also know this Dugong is a very scary Pokemon for our team right now. I have a Drill Run loaded, but I want to have back-to-back just so I can throw moves not only against this Dugong, but also potentially against the Azumarill if it comes back in. Which, speaking of which, they actually catch the move on Azumarill right now. Drill Run is going to do a decent chunk of damage, but I don't know if that's quite enough to put them into range where Bone Club knocks out. I have to go for it. I have a move on my Dugong. If this knocks out or draws a shield, I could win this game, but they survive, and we are going to simul KO. Unfortunately, just barely not able to get the knockout there with that Bone Club. wasting a full charge move of energy, and now we can't take out this Dugong at this point. They are a little bit too healthy here to Ice Shard down, and they can just take us out with the charge move. Very good plays by them. GG's to our opponent. All right, next game, the Marowak mirror matchup here. This is going to be interesting. The Shiny against the Shadow. Who is going to win? It's going to be the one who has the higher attack stat here. Maybe they're running a Shiny because it's a high rank Shiny, or maybe they're running it because it's just the cool Shiny and they wanted to use it. We'll have to see if they have a high attack stat or if they're running a high rank Marowak. In comes the first Bone Club here. This is going to do quite a bit of damage, but we will be able to survive and reach a Bone Club once again. We end up winning CMP, so we have just a bit more attack than they do. This should knock them out and should win us switch advantage. In comes a Talonflame to try to farm us down here. We can instantly swap out. We don't want to give them any energy that we don't have to, because an energy lead on a Talonflame is absolutely devastating with this team. We swapped out to our Shadow Drapion, which they don't seem to have a hard response for. They end up throwing a charge move, and we've done so much work with our Shadow Drapion already. This Talonflame is no longer that big of a concern. Fly does draw a shield here, and in comes their final Pokemon, a Shadow Feraligatr. This is going to be a little bit of a tricky endgame, because I know that a shield advantage Shadow Feraligatr is always a scary thing, but we have a lot of energy. We draw a shield with an Aqua Tail, and we're going to keep on baiting Aqua Tails here, because at this point we just need to get all shields down that we can, and if they end up no-shielding that move, then honestly at that point we might be able to just farm them down and potentially win the game with fast pressure. Aqua Tail number 2 going to come through. Does my opponent end up calling the bait? No, they shield once again, and they're going to be forced to throw energy immediately, or else I could land yet another charge move. So this Feraligatr is energy dry, and as long as a catch doesn't happen here this game, I should be able to win this matchup. They are 2 Incinerates away from a potential Fly or a Brave Bird with that Talonflame, so we always have to keep a little bit of energy on our Dugong, but we also have to make sure that we have enough energy to knock out this Gator before they get to too many more Hydro Cannons. In comes that Talonflame. We do 3 Ice Shards. We throw the charge move here to guarantee the knockout, and now we are 1 Ice Shard away from reaching another charge move against that Shadow Feraligatr. Icy Wind is going to knock out the Talonflame. In comes that Gator, and we are able to take them out there. GG's to our opponent. Next matchup, it's going to be the Marowak up against a Low Kicks, a very interesting Pokemon, but a very bad Pokemon for us to see here. Bug does end up resisting our ground type damage, so I have to swap out and hope that I can somehow get some sort of an energy lead against this later on. They are staying in, though. I get a full-on Aqua Tail against this Pokemon, and then they swap out to a Toxapex. This is a little annoying, because I would much prefer for my Marowak to be in this matchup, but our Shadow Drapion is going to try to do its best. If I get a debuff off, this is going to be very good. Crunch has not been too kind with the debuffs, and once again, we do miss out on the Crunch debuff, but that's still fine. We can survive this grind, get to another Crunch, and potentially get an energy lead with our Shadow Marowak. I wish I could swap out right now so I could get an even bigger energy lead, but because we are not able to, we're going to try our best to go for this Crunch, farm them down, and they are switch locked for just a second here. Mudslap barely does not knock them out, which is so unfortunate. That is a 1 HP survive with this Toxapex, which means we are going to eat a brine, take over half of our health from a Toxapex here. With that said, I do have energy. They did get chipped down because of our Aqua Tail earlier, so this Bone Club is going to draw a shield, and we might still have some play this game depending on how they play it out. If I shield this up, I can reach another Bone Club, and I do want to get shields down, so our Dugong could potentially have a lot more play in the backline. In comes the Bone Club here. If our opponent shields this up, they will be boosted and they'll have a lot of fast pressure, but we still have a shield. We can probably farm this down with Ice Shards and potentially still win this game. It really is going to come down to that final Pokemon, whatever it's going to be. Hopefully our Dugong's going to have play into. They've already had 2 decent answers to it. Maybe there's a flyer in the back, maybe it's something that we can actually beat, but it's going to be a B-Barrel. This Pokemon is not what we wanted to see at all. It has super effective Raw. It resists our Ice Shard damage as well, and we are going to try our best to chip it down with these Drill Runs, but I think they'll have just a bit too much HP, and they'll survive everything that we're throwing at them here. With that said, we have chipped them down quite a bit, and they have to throw a Hyper Fang against us. We should reach yet another Drill Run before they can knock us out. Hyper Fang does do quite a bit of damage, but not enough to take out our Dugong. In comes yet another Drill Run here. This is going to do massive damage. It doesn't quite knock them out once again, but they are forced to throw energy before we're able to farm them down. It's going to be a farm down race here. We have very little HP on our Shadow Drapion. We do take a rollout, but they are so low on both their Low Kicks and on their Toxapex. We take out the Low Kicks and we take out the Toxapex. I think our opponent did lag a turn there. That should have been a tie. All right, next game, Marowak into the Talonflame lead. Not what we want to see. I'm going to save swap our Shadow Drapion once again. Try our best to reach an Aqua Tail before they can even swap out here. Our opponent must not have a hard answer to us because they have not swapped out just yet. This Aqua Tail, if it goes no shielded, is going to do massive damage to the Talonflame. They end up swapping out now into a Morpeko, a Pokemon that is a little bit scary for my team, but because I have my Marowak and I am able to chip it down with this Aqua Tail, it means that our Dugong in the backline hopefully is going to be just a little bit more free. In comes a charge move here. I'm going to have to either make a decision to shield up an Aura Wheel or let it go. I don't think that switch is going to be all that important with how much damage I've already gotten to that Talonflame. I'm going to be able to farm this down with Mud Saps, and because this Morpeko is out of the way, I'm hoping that our Dugong is going to have a lot more play later on. In comes a Psychic Fangs here. Luckily, not going to be an Aura Wheel. That would do a lot of damage to our Marowak, but their final Pokemon is going to be revealed as a Superior. This is absolutely terrible for us right now. This Pokemon is good against not only our Dugong here, but also our Marowak. It is core breaking us very hard, but I have a lot of fast move pressure. I have a bit of energy on Marowak, and if I can get both shields down, there's a decent chance I might have at least a small shot to win this game, right? In comes Icy Wind, gets the first shield from them. I'm going to be able to survive a move here now from them, and I know they do have a bit of energy on that Talonflame. They could potentially Brave Bird us later on, so I have to no-shield this and try to survive, get a shield with this next Icy Wind. They come in with that Talonflame. They have to shield this, though, if they don't want to lose all their energy right now. Icy Wind is going to come through. Our opponent lets it go, and now it's going to be all up to Marowak to try to close out this endgame. In comes the first charge move here. I am going to be able to reach 2 Bone Clubs before a Frenzy Plant's reach. They bait us with an Aerial Ace, which is absolutely catastrophic, but I have 1 Bone Club ready to go. I have the next one after 1 Mud Slap, and if this is enough damage to put them to fast move farm down range, I might just have a chance here to flip this matchup. In comes the next Bone Club. They're in the red. Is this enough to knock out? It might be, but it's going to be so close. They survive, but we were able to get 1 more Mud Slap and knock out the Superior right before they're able to take us down. GG's to our opponent. Next matchup going to be a Venusaur in the lead. Another kind of interesting Pokemon, a bit of a tricky Pokemon to deal with too, but honestly, they are a Poison type, and any Poison type Marowak loves to see. Venusaur is a little bit slow to reaching charges as well, so I think if I stay in here, I just go for Bone Club and Mud Slap spam, I can potentially chip down this Pokemon so our Dugong doesn't have to deal with it. First Bone Club going to come through. If our opponent opts to let this go, I can likely farm them all the way down. If they shield this, I'm almost at my next attack as well, so we can just reach this move and maybe knock them out with this charge attack. I don't know quite if this is going to be enough to KO the Venusaur. Let's see. Bone Club comes through, and it does actually knock them out. That's kind of interesting. And we see a Marowak come in. So our own Marowak putting in so much work right now. We can go for this Bone Club. We won switch advantage. We've chipped down their Marowak so much right now, and we should be able to win this game. Unless it's a Morpeko in the back. That might be one of the worst things we could see. That is why they played this game out the way they have. This Pokemon is going to ramp up with this Aura Wheel. If I can survive a Dark-type Aura Wheel, I might be able to win this game, but they're going to have a +1 attack stat after that first charge move. This is absolutely terrible. We do have 2 Aqua Tails loaded, but I think at this point they are able to CMP the next attack. I need to hope that I can survive this charge move, and if I can, I can win. If I don't, I'm going to get swept by this little guy. In comes the charge move. Aura Wheel comes through. It KOs our Drapion, and unfortunately, that is going to be game over. I can't outpace them, and they still have a Marowak in the back. GG's to our opponent. That was, unfortunately, a good showing of Marowak, but a very bad showing of our backline. But GG's to them. Next game here, a jump up in the lead. I'm going to save swap our Shadow Drapion and try our best to flip this matchup. They don't seem to have a hard answer. No Mud Boy in the back, so I will no-show this Aerial Ace, chip and dip, and see what they want to do. In comes their own Shadow Drapion. Because we are able to potentially win CMP here, there's a chance that we can win this matchup. If I lose CMP, then they are always going to keep switch, but if I win the CMP, we are able, in the 1s and 2s, to potentially flip this. Aqua Tail number 2 coming through our opponent could shield this up if they want to try to keep switch themselves, and they do want to keep switch advantage, it looks like here, so I will shield this up. I have yet another Aqua Tail. I don't think we have CMP just yet, so I don't know if I will be able to force this matchup. It looks like that one was a CMP. We do end up winning it here with our shiny Shadow Drapion. In comes the Aqua Tail, and our opponent is going to let it go, attempting to survive, but they still get knocked out. This is looking good now. We flip switch advantage. We get a crunch off as well, which is going to do massive damage, put them into range where we can potentially ice shard them down, but it's going to come down to that final Pokemon. If it's a pick like another poison type, we're in a really good spot with our Marowak, but if it's a Pokemon that's good into our Dugong, this could be a little bit awkward. In comes an Aerial Ace here. It's going to do massive damage, and our Dugong's going to try its best to farm this down, but I know they are going to be able to reach an Energy Ball, which is going to do a lot of damage to us as well. Energy Ball puts us down well below half HP, and unfortunately the final Pokemon in the backline going to be a Shadow Annihilate. I was a little bit slow on the swap, meaning that they got a couple counters of a head start here. The first Rachis is going to come through. It does way too much damage. I would not be able to outpace them there. My only hope was no-shielding a Rachis, somehow surviving it and being able to get a shield here, but unfortunately, because we do not survive long enough to get another Bone Club off, they are going to be able to win this game and just ramp through us with this Shadow Annihilate. GG's to them. That was a very annoying Pokemon to see in the backline, but I do love some Shadow Annihilate action. Maybe I'll have to use it myself here in the future. It's a very fun Pokemon when you're able to just get matchups like that. All right, next game, Shadow Marowak up against a Dunsparce, a much better lead this time. We do resist the rollout damage, but in the Zero Shield matchup, they can reach 2 charge moves, which will start adding up over time. With that said, we do get to avoid this matchup with our backline, our Shadow Drapion, and our Dugong. We really don't want to see this Pokemon because of the ground and rock type damage they have, and Bone Club is going to chip them down quite a bit. Even if they swap out at this point, they're in range where a Crunch or maybe even a Drill Run from our Dugong could knock them out. In comes a Drill Run of their own, and they're going to reach another charge move right now. This This is going to be able to do quite a bit of damage, but I know I survive it, and rollouts are not going to do enough passive pressure to knock us out before we can get to back-to-back Bone Clubs. Our opponent is going to overfarm here, and then actually make a nice catch on a Mandibuzz. I fell right into that one here. This Bone Club is going to do almost nothing to them, but I do have my own Dugong to answer this. It is also going to be an Air Slash Mandibuzz, it looks like. Are they running Dark Pulse, or is it going to be a Foul Play? It looks like it's probably going to be Foul Play, or maybe they're throwing an Air Release against us right now, depending on what it's going to be. I guess that's going to determine the moveset. Foul Play is going to be shown here, so now we're going to debuff them, and hopefully we can just go for a full farm down, because they're not running Snarl. They're not going to have a lot of charge move pressure. It's going to be all on the fast moves here to do the damage, and yeah, they're not even close to getting to a third charge move against our Dugong. We can farm this all the way down, have 100 energy on our Dugong, and we should be in a very good spot. Also have to keep in mind, we do have energy on our Marowak. We have a full-on Bone Club loaded up in the backline, and that Dunsparce is very low in HP. We see the final Pokemon is going to be a Wigglytuff, and at this point, I think the game is basically over. All we have to do is spam out charge moves, and we can win this game. We have yet another Icy Wind. If they don't shield this, we can just probably fast move this thing down at this point. If they do shield, then we can throw a Bone Club against this, and even if they make a catch, honestly, they had almost a full move of energy that they're going to be letting go if they end up letting this move through, and they do, so it's all Wigglytuff against the world. We have Shadow Drapion with Poison Sting, with Aqua Tail, and 2 shields. Wigglytuff is going to have no chance of getting through this. In comes the Aqua Tail. This is going to get the knockout. If it goes no shielded, our opponent is going to let it go. I guess it doesn't quite knock out, but it is going to put them down into farm down range, and we can take the win there. GG's to them. Next matchup, Shadow Marowak up against a Gastrodon. Another very good matchup just because our backline doesn't really want to see this, especially our Drapion, but this can be awkward depending on baits. I have Bone Club ready to go. I can throw this before they can reach an Earth Power, but if they do end up baiting with Body Slams, this matchup can get a lot more annoying than I'd like. Bone Club does end up coming through there. They let it go, and I'm going to shield up the potential Earth Power, knowing that it would one-shot us if I let it through. They end up baiting us this time, though. I overfarmed just a bit, but they CMP us. Fantastic play by them. They overfarmed perfectly. They CMP'd us perfectly. This is looking terrible. I do have a bit of energy, a bit of HP on this Marowak, but I don't know if we're going to have a lot of play in the backline. In comes the Bone Club. It's going to do a substantial amount of damage to them if they let it through. Okay, actually, they end up shielding that, so that isn't the worst-case scenario. We actually go for a full Mud Slap down, and now we might be able to reach a charge move against something, but probably not. Oh, Shadow Drapion on the backline. That's going to be a little rough. I am down energy against this, and my best answer to this Pokemon was just taken out. With that said, we do have Drill Run on our Dugong, and we have our own Shadow Drapion that can deal with this, but because of that energy lead, this is going to kind of be a very tricky matchup. Crunch comes through. It also gets a defense drop against us. This is not great, and the final Pokemon going to be revealed. They were so weak to Mud Slap in the back. It's a shame that our Marowak has gone down so early. In comes a Charge Bug here to spam out these X-Scissors. With that said, they can never shield the Charge Bug. If they do, then I think I just end up winning this game by being able to land a Drill Run against that Drapion. So I have to go for Crunch and then Aqua Tail and try our best to knock this thing out. They do end up letting us get this Charge move off, but I am in prime farm down range for their Drapion. I have a lot of energy on Dugong, but I think they're going to get just enough Poison Stings here to be able to reach back-to-back charge moves right before I can reach 2 charge moves of my own. In comes the Crunch. Even if I go for an Icy Wind bait, at this point, I'm in a range where they can knock us out. The Crunch is able to land, and of course, another debuff for our opponent. I don't get debuffs. Our opponent just always gets debuffed, it seems. That is just the way of playing Shadow Drapion. A lot of the time, Drill Run is going to be shielded, and just barely right before I get my next move, they are able to reach the Crunch and get the KO. Fantastic plays by our opponent here. Setting up that the Shadow Drapion farm down against not only our Marowak, but against our Shadow Drapion was a fantastic play. All right, next game here against a Wigglytuff in the lead. Love to see it here. We have a lot of fast food pressure, a lot of charge move pressure, and our Shadow Drapion once again gets to avoid a Pokemon with a lot of fast food pressure. But I know that sometimes these Wigglytuff teams could be a little bit RPS in the back, but if they are, a lot of the time it's going to be Pokemon like Gastrodon, like Drifblim, which our Dugong's going to have a lot of play into. Our opponent does end up shielding that first charge attack. They try to CMP us with an Icy Wind, but I end up overfarming and trying our best to get as much energy as we can for the end game. Icy Wind does end up debuffing our attack stat. We are able to build up to back-to-back Bone Clubs here. This should knock them out if they let it through, but they might survive with 1 HP. Let's see what's going to happen. Our opponent tries to survive, but they don't quite survive that attack before we can get that Bone Club off against both this Wigglytuff and then once again against their own Marowak. This is going to do quite a bit of damage to them, but not enough to really put them into a range where we can Ice Shard down comfortably. We likely still have to land an Icy Wind against them right now. And the final Pokemon going to be revealed. It's a Dunsparce. This is a bit of a core breaker here for a backline. I survive a Drill Run, and I can probably get to 2 charge moves, but if they end up shielding a Crunch, that might be devastating for us. In comes our own Crunch in just a second here. We are at back-to-back charges, but only a Crunch and an Aqua Tail. We don't have 2 Crunches, so if they end up shielding this, all I can get with my Drapion against this Dunsparce is going to be an Aqua Tail against this Pokemon. In comes the Aqua Tail. It will do a decent chunk of damage, but not quite enough to really put them into a range where we can knock them out with an Icy Wind. I'm going to try our best here, but they end up denying us with an Ice Shard there. That is not what we want to see. In comes a Rock Slide. It does a lot of damage, but not quite enough to 2-shot us, and at this point, it's going to be a lot of energy management if I want to be able to win this game. I'm going to shield this up, watch for if that Marowak ever comes back in. I think they're getting close to drill run range on this Dunsparce here. They end up swapping out, and the Marowak does come in. I have almost back-to-back charge boosts loaded right now. I go for the Icy Wind against this Marowak. This should knock them out. I have a drill run loaded. If this is enough to knock them out, my Dewgong might be able to sweep this backline, take out the core breaker here, Dunsparce. Not enough to win against us in the end there. GG's to our opponent. Next game, Shadow Marowak up against a Talonflame of Pokemon. Once again, that is so annoying for this team to take care of, but we have play if our Shadow Drapion is not hard countered. In comes our Shadow Drapion throwing an Aqua Tail once again before they swap out. This should draw a shield or do massive damage to this Talonflame. Once again, they opt to let it go, which is amazing for me. With that said, this time they're staying in even longer. They're getting a charge move off this time before they end up swapping out here. Fly is going to be thrown, and they're staying in even longer. They just let us get to yet another Aqua Tail here. If they let this go, this could be very interesting to see what their final Pokemon is going to be. Aqua Tail this time, though, does get shielded. They are going to be able to get to another Fly before we can get to a third Aqua Tail, but that's fine at this point. I wouldn't be surprised if our Dewgong has a lot of play in the backline. I'm just going to invest in shields and energy on our Dewgong and hope that it's going to be enough to win us this game. We get the full farm down here. What is in the back? It might be a Mudslapper. It might be, looks like a Clodsire comes in. That's interesting. I guess they must have a much better answer to our Marowak in the backline. They want to avoid that matchup with their Clodsire. That does make some sense, but if they're not running Stone Edge, this matchup is not all that bad for our Dewgong. In comes a charge move in just a second here. I guess not just quite yet. They do throw a charge attack. What is it going to be? Hopefully not a Stone Edge. If it is, it's going to do a lot more damage than I'd like, but it's going to be a Sludge Bomb of all things. That's not that scary of a move. I can throw an Icy Wind in just a second, but they don't quite have the energy for yet another Sludge Bomb after this. I want to overfarm just in case we need this charge move energy for whatever the final Pokemon is. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a grass type like a Superior. We've seen a lot of Talonflame plus Superior cores today, so I want to make sure to keep as much energy as possible in the backline just in case that is what it is. Income Superior, as we were thinking it might be. This is going to debuff them, but they are going to be able to get a full Vine Whip down against us, and because this Superior is already so healthy at this point, I don't know if we're going to be able to knock them out with a Bone Club. This Icy Wind should be able to do a massive amount of damage, though, and as long as we can survive a Frenzy Plant after 2 debuffs, we should be able to win this game. I know they get to 2. I'm going to just no-shoot this for science. How much damage is a Frenzy going to do? Honestly, not that much damage after 2 debuffs. We're able to easily survive this. Go for a Bone Club in just a second. They get a Parting Aerialist or Frenzy Plant against us, and we can shield this up, go for a charge move of our own, knock them out, and take the win with our Shadow Marowak taking out one of its worst possible matchups here. Bone Club does come through, knocks out the Superior, and we are able to win the game. GG's to them. Very, very fun team today. I know this is a bit of a meta team once again, but I mean, this is the first time I got a chance to use Shadow Marowak. I really wanted to try it out. But I mean, this was our first chance to really try this Pokemon out and see how good it is, and I loved using it today. It had a lot of great matchups. It had a lot of matchups that honestly were not great in the lead, but you're able to flip with a lot of energy because ground and rock coverage is so strong, and I can't believe I've been missing out on this Pokemon for so long. Well, thank you so much for watching today's video. If you want to see more videos like this in the future, please make sure to subscribe. Thanks again for watching, take care, and I'll see you in the next one.